Hello, and welcome to this virtual panel session from Foodservice Consultant Society International, FCSI. My name is Tina Nielsen. I am from Progressive Content, and I'm the editor of FCSI's Foodservice Consultant magazine. This session, which is supported by IBEX, will consider the trends and challenges driving the sector and consider the future of cooking. I'm happy to be joined by a first-rate panel of food service professionals. And to kick things off, I'd like to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves, tell us a bit about their experience and their expertise. Tarah, can we start with you, please?
Sure. Great. Thank you so much, Tina. So I'm Tarah Schroeder. I'm an executive principal at Ricca Design Studios. So we work nationally consulting in an institutional in different institutions, higher ed, healthcare, on design and all different types of commercial kitchen projects.
Okay. And Cathy?
My name is Cathy Schiltz. Nice to meet you, everyone. I own Glenview Grind Coffee House, which is a coffee house and cafe located in Glenview, Illinois, which is just north of the city of Chicago, Illinois. And my shop is very unique to our area. We do have the corporate chains, but I am an independent. I am the sole owner of the Glenview Grind, and I strive to make sure we have the highest ingredients, the best products for our customers. And we are definitely a go-to spot for excellent coffee and excellent food.
Okay, superb. Right, and Charlie?
Good morning. My name's Charlie Pantalakos. I'm the business unit manager for IBEX, and IBEX is the rapid cook division for ITW Food Equipment Group. A little bit about me. I am a trained chef, but I entered the equipment space and distribution over 25 years ago and have tried to take that knowledge and expertise that I learned as a chef and apply it to equipment design, layout, and the efficiencies in the industry.
Right, okay, cool. So I think obviously we're going to get into quite a focused area, but I'd like to start off by just setting the scene a little bit and how you all three of you see the food service sector right now. What are the major challenges, the trends, the opportunities? And obviously you come from very different angles of the sector. So Tarah, can you pick that one up first?
Yeah, definitely what we're seeing, and I'm interested to hear what Cathy and Charlie have to say to this as well. But just, costs, both real estate costs and equipment costs are really influencing and leading a lot of the decisions that are being made in designs that we're working on. Also, I would say decarbonization is a big topic these days with various institutions, colleges and universities, corporate campuses. So that's, that's having folks look at ventless and all electric kitchens. And then, of course, the labor shortage is, top of mind for everyone. And, what that means for operations and equipment and, the types of projects that folks are deciding to move forward with.
Okay. And Cathy, so from your operator point of view, I imagine cost is pretty high as well on the list of challenges.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, just everything you just stated is I could completely agree with. Even trying to go green, I tried to really cut my carbon imprint during COVID. I mean, before COVID, and then COVID hit. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I had to bring all the plastics and all the disposables back. So that definitely is a huge issue also for us in trying to cut costs.
Okay. And from the manufacturing point of view, Charlie, how do you see the sector currently?
In addition to wild supply chain challenges and shutdowns all over the world, ITW is a worldwide manufacturer, and we source from all different points in the globe. regardless of the final point of assembly. So different challenges have presented themselves as far as being able to have those resources. And as manufacturers, we were used to just-in-time inventory. If we placed an order for 100, 1,000, whatever components they may be, we understood what the lead times were. So the adjustments that we've needed to make not only have been making sure there's compatibility in product so that we have the durability that the end user, the customers are looking for, but also increasing what we would keep on the shelf, so to speak, because of these anomalies. And that has required a lot of forward thinking as well as consolidation, again, to make sure that the integrity of the product we have going out is consistent with the expectations of our customer base and certainly our company as a whole.
Okay.
Charlie, I'm curious, do you see that, because supply chain is something that we have to deal with on design projects all the time. Are you seeing that changing? Are the inventories building up, or do you still see that being a topic of conversation for like another 6 months or a year?
I do, because while the manufacturers are able to resume, they're trying to get more product out and they're pursuing their efficiencies. So what we find is that there is a consolidation and there's a hyperinflation of cost of products that are not as typical, so to speak. And the competition, depending on what the space is for computer chips, wiring harnesses, touch screens, user interfaces, are across many different manufacturing sectors, not just our part of food equipment. So the competitiveness is really very interesting in that I might need a particular component, a touch screen for my product or our segment, and we might be competing with a video game company, a cell phone company, a car manufacturer for those same types of inventories and orders. So it's required a lot of nimble approach, and our procurement specialists, our sourcing specialists, and they've had to put on an engineering hat too to make sure that what we are able to bring in is meeting that. So I don't think we're done with that yet, but I do believe that the synergies that organizations have found internally, we will be better for it.
Oh, that's a nice positive spin on it to finish off that point. I guess you learn, you gain some agility from that, and you learn to be a bit more flexible, I suppose. I don't know if it's an urban myth, but I'm sure I heard somewhere last year that one company bought huge stocks of PlayStations and basically opened them up to take out the microchips so they could use them in equipment manufacturing. Have you heard that one?
I've heard many different things, and there's a little bit of that, and unfortunately, some of what we've seen are people that have inventory on the shelf. It's turned into an auction. So many different people, sources may have just wanted to touch the ceiling, the uncertainty of whether or not they were going to be able to source more product, to see if something that they used to sell for $40, they could sell for $400. And in some respects, there are some segments that can be tolerated. The margins of food equipment and the industry as a whole, we don't necessarily have that same luxury. So it's created significant ripples.
Yeah, okay. Cathy, you and Tarah operate at almost opposite ends of the operator's spectrum, I think, with Tarah going into big higher ed institutions, and you have your owner operated coffee shop. So I'm interested to hear from you, what are the watchwords when it comes to your requirements? I imagine that some of them would be similar to Tarah's, but what do you look for when you look at, say, new equipment or introducing new processes in your operation?
Well, I've had my coffee shop now for 8 years, and I've developed it into a different entity over the years, because obviously with everything constantly changing, I have to change the way I'm doing business and what I'm providing for my clientele, my customers. and food being one of the main items that I've had to keep up with. And I'm limited on space, very limited on space. Not to mention when I first started, I was in a different location. I was on a corner with great visibility, but terrible parking. And it didn't work. It was very small. I struggled, I should say. And I even did so much as to get a liquor license just to see if that would help. And it didn't. So I had to look for other options. Okay, so how can I increase, grow my menu and give what my customers wanted, which is another place to go for lunch. So I started by moving. I moved down the street, like not even a block away, and into a location that's more densely populated. The train is right there that goes directly downtown Chicago and up north towards Milwaukee. And a lot of I'm in a large apartment complex, but a lot of condominium buildings and just way more residents where I'm at, and great parking, not to mention a drive-through. So that was a huge adjustment because the staff at the time, which I would say at that time, my staff was probably around 12 to 15, and I now have over 30. And adding that drive-through was just a whole new element that we had to learn and train on, because that really changed up things. So yes, I had to look and see how can I add things to my menu, and but do it in a way that I'm going to give that quality to the customers, that my customers, because that's what they expect. I can, shop and use my vendors for great high quality items. I like to use local people for freshness. But how am I preparing that? How am I keeping it consistent? And giving my customers what they want. We have gluten-free customers. We have customers that don't want, they want something that's keto friendly. And we have all these challenges as far as trying to please, a large population with different expectations. And then I was like, but how can I do that and really get that quality? So that is when I moved and I added the drive-through. I also added this oven, and it's a high-tech oven. It's an IBEX oven that has really been able to grow our menu and keep the consistency that we need, to the point where I have high schoolers. I have high schoolers that come in and work after school or on the weekends, and I need them at times to be able to prepare a sandwich or a salad that we put grilled chicken on. And, it's easy enough where I can keep that consistency and I can train them on that. So that has been a huge plus for my business, and a great opportunity for the Glenview Grind to really expand its menu.
Tara, I'd imagine for you, one of your watchwords at the opposite end of the spectrum would be consistency as well.
Oh, completely. Just with the skilled staffing shortage. It was so interesting hearing Cathy speak, because everything she touched on are the same exact things that we're seeing even in larger institutions. Suddenly, okay, how do we handle folks coming in? How do we handle order pay on mobile? How do we handle delivery? How do we handle to go? So all these different avenues of distribution out of the same kitchen. Whereas, just 2-3 years ago, it was like to go and just come in. So it's, it's having to rethink the operations a little bit, and the flow and the kitchen, and, how much space you allocate for different functions. And then the other thing you mentioned about ventless equipment, we're seeing that too, just because, be bringing in, like an IBEX oven, suddenly you can expand your menu so much without having a lot of the infrastructure costs of adding a hood. So, what can we do to allow for there to be more variety of menu without adding a lot of equipment, maybe one piece of equipment that can do so many different things. And then equipment that is easy to use, that maybe, for projects that I'm working on, maybe, it's a college kitchen where the chef can go and like program everything ahead of time, but then, that person that comes in, they just press a button, and it does that consistent meal every time. So that really struck me. I was expecting you to say, Cathy, for you to say like challenges that you're dealing with or what you have that are completely different, but it's exactly
right?
the same, just on a
Yeah.
different scale.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, we recently had to add more expediter screens so that the different stations can see obviously what's being ordered. And my staff was just like, oh, that's so easy. I mean, when you bring these ideas to my team, you know, they look at me with this surprise, like, oh my, how are we going to learn that? And I don't understand how that's going to work. And they're very hesitant. Every time I bring in a new element, I get a lot of backlash. And I always try to tell them, this is going to make your job easier because I need to keep the stress level low in my shop, because I need smiling employees. I need great customer service, whether they're in the drive-through or they're serving people in the cafe. They need to feel at ease with what they're doing, and they need to feel comfortable. And again, you know, I need eyes to see that the food is consistent, and that we're giving the customer, like I really need them to be observing everything that's going on and going out, right? And when it's a busy time, you know, we're a coffee shop. So when it's a rush, and they could tend to get a little nervous. And with the food, you know, they're rushing. And I just say, it just takes a few seconds, take a quick look, everything is moving smoothly. You know, people know that they're getting it fresh, and they're going to get a great item. And if they have to wait 30 seconds longer, that's fine. But, you know, just keep your cool, and adding this new element, whether it's an expediter screen or an oven or an espresso machine that makes things easier, is just huge to my team.
Just to get an idea of the kind of the scale of the people you're dealing with. So just to see, so for example, Tarah, in the places that you design the food service, what's the kind of number the average number of customers coming through?
Well, I'm thinking about a dining hall that's opening for me this week. You know, it's 800 seats. So, you know, 2,000 to 3,000 is, you know, what we're talking about. But that's the thing is, you know, even it's similar, even though we're looking at a different scale. It's similar challenges, but yeah, so it can be a little bit larger.
Yeah. And how about you, Cathy? I mean, how many customers do you deal with?
On an average day, we have about 400 transactions is what we say.
Okay.
And yes, our mornings are our busy time. But again, I'm constantly looking for ways, because I am open 7 days a week. We open, pre-COVID, we opened at 5:30. We have adjusted that to 6:30 in the morning, but we're open from 6:30 to 5 every day, 7 days a week. And I do only close one day a year, which is Christmas Day. And so those challenges right there, keeping that consistency, whether you're getting your coffee or you're getting your sandwich at 8 a.m. as opposed to 4 p.m. when I have a little bit of a different staff at that time of day, that is a challenge. That is a challenge, because they're paying exactly the same amount, whether they buy it at 8 or 4 p.m. And I want to make sure that they're getting that exact same quality. And, you know, I have, of course, I prioritize the morning because that's our busiest time, but afternoon's very important too, when you want your coffee or you want a really good chicken club.
True. Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? So very, very different size and scale of operations, but really the challenges are the same, and the solutions are also the same. Charlie, on the manufacturing side of it, so what kind of things do you respond to in the market when you bring out new equipment, or you think about how you can help operators and consultants?
So it's interesting because knowing Cathy's business, she was busy at 250 transactions based on the footprint of her location and the demand, and people staying closer, not commuting to the office and so forth. So her being able to keep the same level of quality and guest experience at 400 is really fantastic. And the initiatives that she's put forward to do that is really one of the things that I think about and we think about. So ITW, where as a manufacturer, we have lots of different segments, but being part of the food equipment group, the core to our ethos is that we do a customer-backed innovation. We make dish machines, so our dishwashers need to make product cleaner. They need to be more energy efficient. They need to be more chemical efficient. Our cooking equipment, the same types of things. So we're constantly looking at the ways that we can utilize less resources, increase our efficiency to bring down customer cost and increase guest experience. So evolving our equipment is what has made all of our brands as strong as we are. IBEX and the IBEX oven is a complete innovation. It was an organic effort brought by the team here and our engineers, and it was forward thinking in a way that we wanted to understand what the challenges of the environment were. As mentioned, infrastructure that is hood space, so being able to operate ventlessly, the repeatable guest experience, making sure that an operator can get those consistent qualities regardless of the skill level, and to be able to increase in the quality of the throughput and offer the speed. So trading off the times of conventional cooking appliances were able to achieve the types of qualities was very important for us to enter the market with. So quality-driven product, get repeatable guest experience is really what put forward the innovation that is our product. And being able to take that to market and making sure that those were the focuses allows the operators to understand that a company like ITW and IBEX really had those desires. It wasn't just about making what can make food cook faster, how can we make it cheaper, how can we do each of these things, because the expectations of the people coming in are for an improved experience, higher quality product, fresh local ingredients prepared well. But at the same time, operators need to be able to get speed. Cathy, through COVID, had to find a way to scale her business to be able to get more product through. And coming out of COVID, she now needs to find a way to get more product through, potentially with less labor and resource. So she's an individual example of the challenges that not only as a manufacturer, we continue to challenge our engineers with, but we partner and we have chefs on our team to make sure that we're achieving those quality results. So a consultant can say, this is the right product for this application, certified ventless. It can cook all types of products, including proteins, and is going to give the quality, repeatable guest experience that unskilled operators can do. So it's a lot to put into a funnel, but we do that. We do it consistently, and that is the primary focus for us. And having those things on the roadmap is just fantastic. It really is a quality-driven product and experience, and that's what our goal is within my division of IBEX.
Okay.
If I could just follow up on that really quick. I also feel like, especially with the new technology and innovation, as an independent operator, I need to communicate with my clientele and my staff. And I think so many people are like, they just don't understand what's going on in the marketplace and what we are capable of doing. And for example, when I did build out the present shop I'm in, and I knew I couldn't do a hood, and I was like, okay, so I technically don't have a kitchen, but I'm still just like a kitchen. I mean, we are preparing all kinds of food in different ways because of this oven. And again, proteins, like people are like, well, how are you grilling chicken back there? I know you don't have a kitchen, or how are you we make all our own bacon. We make our eggs, because our customers love a quick, fresh breakfast sandwich. And so we're making our eggs there. I really, really try to get as many local products and meet the demands of my customers. For example, we really don't have many bakeries in the area. And I have a lot of gluten-free customers. So I get stuff from a gluten-free bakery in Chicago, and she's also an independent, and she delivers to me. My customers really want a great fresh bagel, and they would love like a great deli to get a bagel from, but we don't have that in our area, and they want the convenience. So I work with a Jewish deli just about 15, 20 minutes from my shop. And she makes the bagels for me, but she only bakes them halfway and then she freezes them. So I'm able to put them in my freezer. I pick them up in large quantities. I put them in my freezer. And then as every day, we are making trays of bagels and they're crispy on the outside and they're nice and chewy and soft on the inside, just like people like them. And my customers were, you know, and I'm honest, they're coming from Kaufman's Bakery and people are so thrilled that they can get that kind of bagel in my shop. And then now we throw peanut butter on it or obviously cream cheese or some smoked salmon. And we've developed that sandwich. So again, like, and even an espresso machine that I use where I was really struggling because it's very difficult in a skilled position to pull a perfect shot of espresso. People that drink espresso every day, they know what that is supposed to taste like. And you're not going to fool them by pulling a bad shot. And having so many employees and having to keep up with that training. I have kids that are only in maybe 2-3 times a week, maybe once a week sometimes because they're busy. I needed a really great way to pull a shot that was going to be consistent. So I invested in high-end espresso machines that are pulling, you know, don't have that human error involved, and they're pulling a beautiful shot of espresso that you can't on a regular espresso machine. So those are ways that, you know, my IBEX oven and my other equipment in my shop have really made things really improved my business.
Tarah,
so Cathy, now I'm wishing you were just down the street for me because that bagel or that gluten-free pastry sounds amazing. So, I, you know, again, just, you know, with what Charlie said, just going back to what he said, the operators having to do more with less, like that is so the truth. And it's at the core of even the things that we talked about, right? With the skilled labor shortage and costs going up. I mean, it's just the reality of all food service operations today. And then again, just, you know, seeing some commonalities. So what we're seeing on college, university campuses and corporate has been doing this for a while, but the partnerships with local vendors, right? So how can we, instead of us doing everything in-house, because we know we can't, you know, let's reach out and make those partnerships. And I know that, you know, having at least on college and university, having a concept that's a rotating restaurant so that the local vendor comes in, you know, maybe for a month and then they switch to a different local vendor, you know, just allowing them that then the operators don't have to, you know, think of the menu or have the staff. They can just create that partnership and then offer great high quality options to students.
When you talk about this, operators having to do more with less, I wonder if there's always been an element of this in food service. I mean, has there ever been a time where that wasn't the case? Or is it just more starkly in focus now because there are other challenges too?
I think it's always been, you know, I think that's the challenge of food service. It's always been there to some degree, but it feels to a different level now, just because, at least from what I'm seeing, you know, maybe operators who weren't really as interested in looking at new technology or, you know, just kind of wanted to stick a little bit more with more of what they've always done because of these challenges are, you know, throw all the ideas at me. Like, let's talk about how we can bring in, you know, more screens, like Cathy mentioned. Let's talk about multifunctional equipment. Let's look at, you know, induction. Let's, you know, they're more open to what's new on the market, just because it's just heightened. It feels different now. I don't know, Cathy or Charlie, what you've seen or what your thoughts are on that.
So one of the things that you spoke about at the very beginning, and we're talking about the costs, and those costs are related to square foot for an operator or somebody who has a great business model to want to go in and open a hospitality, based, whether it's a cafe, coffee shop, corner pub, or full-scale restaurant, the cost per square foot and the overall overhead and expenses to be able to do that anywhere not only have increased, but the competitiveness is certainly in a city environment is even worse. They're competing with retail. And so I think that as we challenge ourselves and say having to do more with less, the cost per linear foot of a hood was one thing. The infrastructure to be able to put in a hood now is whether or not the space will make it available. But overall, as these costs have significantly increased in the last 15, 20 years, double, triple, quadruple, it makes the sustainability of the overall operation more challenged. So being able to do more with less is requiring more versatile pieces of equipment under the hood. So how can we do those things in order to be able to have less kitchen space and potentially much more serving space? Because the most expensive thing in a restaurant is an empty seat. So we are constantly trying to add more seats and more capability to get that turnover so that the operator can really achieve the highest in margins towards their overhead. Well, as it relates to our product, some of those locations are already maxed out, but they have more foot traffic, and the demand for fresher products, fresher ingredients. What we're looking at is how we can create production area additional with high quality product without having to add that infrastructure of hood, of water, of drain, so just being able to deliver power to an area and be able to have those high quality results is really where this is going. And we were speaking a little bit about electrification initiatives earlier. Certain regions of the country are now pushing that. They're looking to see that new kitchens don't look to gas or liquid propane or any of those types of resources that they're able to utilize in electric specifically. So that's challenging manufacturers, including our company, to be able to have products that meet the expectations of the customers, because ultimately the guest is expecting to have either what they had last time or something comparable or better than what they have when they sit down and they look at your menu. So each of those challenges are being embraced by our engineers, but ultimately it's the operator, somebody in Cathy's position, that has to make sure that they're providing that repeatable guest experience. It's nobody wants an explanation of why it's going to come out different, but the challenges that are being put in place in the industry are requiring us to make sure that we, as a manufacturer, put forward product that can empower Cathy to make her guests and customers happy, but to not continue to challenge the infrastructure in the ways that we have previously. It's a lot of moving parts. It's very dynamic. And oh yeah, by the way, we need to make it easier to use too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're nodding, Cathy.
Oh, absolutely. And again, quality control. I mean, I am constantly explaining to my staff too. I mean, this is the way you're going to make it, but sometimes they'll want to take shortcuts or whatever. And of course they want to make it easier, but the customer wants that. And you know what? They'll return it if it doesn't look the way it's supposed to look, which is fine. I think they should. And, we need to get it right to keep costs down. So, and that's what having these machines this equipment has done for us, for sure. My only I went to school for nursing. I never went to school for business, never thought I'd own a coffee shop. So I'm constantly learning. And, keeping my customers happy, there's all kinds of ways to do that. Again, just a smile really helps, and being honest with them. But again, we're giving them a product that just in my area is hard to get right now. I've seen other little shops opening and they're struggling. And I also know that my town in particular is very in need of more restaurants, especially in the downtown area where I am, close to the train. and we're not getting them. And I know why, because we have a pretty finicky area. I mean, the people in my area, my customers, they have certain expectations, and, you know, they'll go downtown Chicago if they want to get their steak. And it would be nice to have something closer, but, you know, so we're hurting in our downtown area because of the cost involved to open up a restaurant and give that quality that our area demands. So I'm just happy to know that I think I've made some people happy in my area as far as breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a success story. I spoke with another group last week, and I'm interested because they're all from, also there's a consultant, an operator, a manufacturer, and they kind of all concurred that the food service sector is not particularly open to new things, as in quite suspicious when new things come in. And Cathy, you just kind of mentioned your staff going, oh, I'm not sure we can handle this, or I'm interested to hear your views on this. And Tara, what's your experience? Are people quite open to saying, yeah, well, we'll try this? Are they a bit scared of new things or suspicious?
Well, I touched on that a little bit. You know, definitely I would say that, you know, folks are hesitant. But it really depends for me. It just depends on the operator. It depends on, you know, who it is and kind of what their vision, because a lot of times we're working with folks who are looking at a whole campus. So they might be willing to take a few more risks. But, you know, it's kind of, you know, with what Charlie mentioned about codes changing, about electrification in certain areas around the country, or food waste was something too, that some states or cities had put bans on about 5-10 years ago too, and that's starting to increase. So it a lot of times it's the codes that are in a sense like making operators look at things a little differently, you know, that, you know, oh, we have to, if we have to go all electric, like, okay, we have to look at induction, you know, we have to start to learn what this is. And then I alluded to this a little bit before, you know, some operators really, the staffing shortage is really significant. And so they are willing to consider, you know, more automation, or, you know, even looking at, you know, light robotics. I say that, I know when people say robotics, I think you think of like this arm, you know, moving stuff, and it's not necessarily that, you know, it can be just smarter cooking equipment as well. But they're willing to consider that, where maybe 5 years ago they wouldn't, just because a lot of them are having to not even open some venues, right? Because they don't have the staff for it. But the demand is there. So I've definitely seen, you know, more openness to those types of conversations in the past couple of years than previously.
Yeah. Okay. How do you see it, Charlie?
So I love, that was almost teed up perfectly for a home run swing, because what we found was that as there were different segments who were really pushing towards traditional manual type of controls. It's what they knew. They wanted to push the on button. They wanted to turn the dial to the temperature, and that was it. So touch screen user interfaces had this stigma of, well, my staff's not going to be able to use that. It's too complicated. I just need to make it simple. And what we're finding now is that, so those resistances were keeping products, we were continuing to make products that we knew really should have had already experienced greater evolution. They just weren't getting the buy-in from the industry that we needed. Well, now I feel like that any operator that has worked through these challenges of COVID is never going to forget what this is like, and are going to try to manage their operations in a way that allows them to return not only the consistency and the quality, but a quality of life for them. So connectivity having a touch screen, a user interface, the ability to scale what they know works is now more important than ever, where you would have just whole sections of our industry that would say, nope, we can't do that, because they can't find the staff and they need things to be working and doing things on their own without those necessary manual controls, and have those presets so that the results are the same consistency, that now that's being embraced. And it's being embraced because of the forces that have been created or pushed on the industry, not because there was a great deal of forward thinking. And that's one of those pain points that when you're speaking to an operator or a decision maker to say, we understand that, and we've had this product in the portfolio, and this is how it can help you. I think they're taking more time to listen. And whereas before, nope, this is what we had, this is what works, we know how to do this, just send me what I used to have, I just need a new one of whatever I had. And that is where the partnerships that we're able to form and a company like Ricca can form, because we both want to be industry and subject matter experts. When somebody is prepared to make the decision, they're considering more so that they can do more. And that was not always the way. I think that there was an assumption for a very long time in this industry that having labor was never going to be a problem. And then it became a problem. Consistency, turnover, all that stuff has existed, but not being able to fill your kitchen or facility with the number of bodies was never really part of the thought process. And that's very real now. And again, along with these innovations and evolutions, so come efficiencies, time scaling, and all of those other types of things that dramatically benefit businesses. So it is helping, just not with a whole lot of sandpaper along the way, if that's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
If I could follow up on that, one thing that I think about in particular, again, is meeting the demand of my customers. And when I was at my old location and really just learning how to run a coffee shop. So I was focusing more on the beverages and not, just getting some fresh pastries. But then my customer said, well, I don't want sugar in the morning. How about protein? And I don't just want a Greek yogurt. So I'm thinking, how can I do eggs? And I really didn't have the knowledge at that point. So when you can get people to start thinking out of the box and how can we do this? I started with a frozen breakfast sandwich, and you know what? I did sell them, but I was not proud of the product. And I thought, okay, I got to make this better. And then it got to, well, let's assemble a fresh sandwich. Well, we don't really have a way to make an egg. So, and as far as I know, right? I'm not saying that, but how do we do this? So then I bought frozen egg patties, and they were fine. Was I still proud of it? No, I would love a fresh egg. So, and then once COVID hit and you see the prices, and I couldn't even get the eggs anymore. And so then it's like, okay, now let's think out of the box again. Okay, how can I truly make an egg? This can't be that hard. And I could really save money if I just use fresh eggs. And with the help of someone from IBEX, it's like, okay, you can make an egg in a muffin tin, and you can put a silicone topper on it to keep that moist, the moisture in there. And oh my gosh, the breakfast sandwich is so good now. And we're able to, make it in large quantities and have them ready to go. And the breakfast sandwich is one of our top sellers. People love a fresh breakfast sandwich, whether it's with bacon or just egg and cheese. You have your choice of a bagel or a croissant or an English muffin. And it's a great go-to in the morning for our customers.
Well, there you have an open mind in food service right there.
I'll find a way. Just like in the oven also. Then it was like, well, we don't want bread on our sandwich. We're really trying to watch our carbs. Can you do an egg bite? And I thought, okay, we can do an egg bite. So to get that fluffiness, or like a traditional egg bite, you need to sous vide the egg bite, right? And I'm like, oh, that's just another step we're not going to be able to handle. So of course we were able to figure it out in our awesome oven that made it easy for us. And we can also do them in large quantities.
That's brilliant.
And our customers are happy because they don't have to have the bread if they don't want to.
Well, I suppose the title of this session is The Future of Cooking. So perhaps we can talk a little bit about where you think it's heading. And Tarah, how do you see it?
Well, and I just want to touch on something real quick that Charlie had mentioned. So it is kind of our role. I know that folks might feel comfortable having done something a certain way, but part of as a designer consultant and, Charlie as a manufacturer, it's for us to help ask questions that they're not even thinking about asking, or to help them, look at different options and know kind of what is out there, right? Because we have that view and the ability to do that. So at least for me with the future of cooking, we've talked, it's just kind of reiterating, I feel, a lot of what we've touched on. So equipment that's multifunctional, right? So, one piece of equipment that could do many things, so we don't need as big of a cook line, that we don't maybe even need a hood. And then, of course, I feel like I've mentioned this also, just the all electric. So, there's more options that are becoming available on the market for induction ranges. I think some manufacturers are starting to explore and have options for induction woks. I still think there's, and then also electric hearth ovens. So definitely the technology has come a long way. And I think that there's still some need to look at what we can do to replace charboilers. There are some options that we're using, but there's no sort of one size fits all solution for that. And then definitely connected kitchens, so looking at KDS systems that are connected to front of house, point of sale, just making it, and I read recently that even incorporating AI into that. So there's machine learning now as a part of those systems. So interested to see what's out there, just to make it easier for operators to do more with less.
What do you think hearing that kind of stuff, Cathy?
Oh, I think it sounds fabulous. Absolutely. Again, keeping an open mind and using this technology. I mean, even like you were in regards to a POS and how much that has changed, having an easier POS system, and again, the expedite kitchen screens and all that. But and again, having equipment that will do more. Absolutely. That you're not having all these pieces that you have to maintain and you have to clean, and making things easier for my staff and keeping them happy is also very important.
Yeah. And Charlie, from the manufacturing side, where do you see things heading?
So I am IBEX, and I'm very fortunate in that this is one of the most forward-thinking products, not only in our portfolio, but also in the world, in that we have a piece of equipment that delivers energy into the cabinet, and it is doing it consistently and creating a very gentle cook. Cathy has done such a nice job explaining the results of some of her cooking, of the products that she's doing and able to do. But we're delivering a consistent energy in the cabinet, and we're doing it via an antenna. And so not only are we able to have a consistent cook and a delicate result, so that there's no hot and cold spots, there's no excessive drying or rubberiness. It's a very different, but that antenna is also picking up the data of the amount of energy that's not being absorbed by the food cooking, and it's making an adjustment in real time. So in short, this isn't artificial intelligence, but we do not use a probe. There are no other points of measure in the cabinet. This is steps away from machine learning. So being able to have a single portion size, an individual, an item, or a tray of product going in, and the consistency, we're able to get those consistencies in results. But our algorithm is constantly making those changes and adjustments, because food is different. Food changes when it cooks. Breads rise, proteins contract. There's the temperature changes. If it's coming from a freezer or a refrigerator, we need chicken to get to 165 or over. So all of those things that are happening throughout the process, our particular piece of equipment is able to monitor and collect that information through the course of an entire process. So how we scale that information, how we're able to utilize that and bring it across our sections is really what the exciting part of this is, because when we talk about the future of equipment, the future of food, the future of cooking, the way that we deliver energy and the amount of information that we've had available to us and how we use it now is very different. I mentioned that, you know, I am a chef. Chefs pay attention. They're listening, they're touching, they're seeing. You can hear what's happening on in a fry pan or on a grill. You see the color changes. So we have been using those senses to try to understand what's happening with the food. Right now in our product in IBEX, we close the door, and all of this is happening. So it's very fun to say that the food has always been communicating with us. We now understand how to listen, and we're able to allow our software and algorithm to make sure that the results are consistent and meeting the quality standards of what today's customer is, today's consumer is. What was acceptable many years ago is certainly not now. Like the old, you know, the old TV dinners have gone by the wayside. You're not what people are expecting now for quality. We need to be able to achieve that. So what is exciting when we talk about the future is we're just stepping into how we utilize this information, how we get the equipment doing more for us, how we bring down the consumption of energy. You mentioned, you know, previously a quick mention of a charbroiler, very inefficient. There's a lot of fuel being consumed in this, similar with a fryer. So if we can bring down the amount of energy that those are consuming, the amount of oil a fryer utilizes, and cook food more efficiently and make sure that those things are happening, then not only are we bringing value to the industry, but we're also stewarding our responsibility to sustainability, and sourcing local is sustainable. Purchasing making sure that all of your purchasing processes are sustainable are all initiatives that not only our college, university, hospitals are put forward with, but our guests, the people that are coming in want to know that that is important to you as a business owner and operator. Well, in order for a business owner and operator to be able to stand behind that statement that they're making, they need their consultant and their manufacturer to also have bought into the same ethos and are providing them not only with the things that are forward thinking, cutting edge, and providing those things, but also helping them understand why, when they make an investment in our product, what the improvement and how it's going to play out, not only for their margin, but also their guest experience and what their initiatives are towards sustainability.
That's so true.
You know, I'm thinking, Tarah, I have two sons that are in college, and they're both in fraternity houses, and they struggle. They will tell me with the food that they're eating, and they have chefs in their homes that are cooking for large numbers of men. And I'm always explaining to them they need to talk to whoever's managing or who's in charge of these kitchens, because, you know, these kids don't want chicken nuggets and mac and cheese or like a bad, like there's so many healthy options. And I'm like, you guys are college students, you speak up and tell them that there's great ways to get quality products that are healthy. They're not going to make you feel sick, because they'll be like, oh, we had another chicken nugget dinner or something. And knowing that there's just the options to cook healthy, and also not have the waste involved, you know, that they can think out of the box and give these kids what they really want, just like I can do by listening to my customers and hearing their dietary demands and or their allergies, and coming up with all kinds of different things that you can do to give them a satisfying meal that's healthy and something that they really want to spend their money on too.
It's pretty amazing what colleges and universities, what dining looks like. It's completely different than when I was in school. Probably any of us were in school. It was, used to be that old tray line, where, it's, meat, starch, and vegetable, and that's what you get. But now, the dining halls that they have, or the retail operations they have, I mean, everyone's looking at, allergen aware, gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, even kosher, halal, and looking at incorporating plant forward menus, and, how can we, really have fresh food for students, and have the options, beyond, like you said, the mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. Although I don't think, knowing college students, I don't think we can get completely away from that.
No, I know.
But just, but still, but like you said, just having a wider variety. I think that students going into school these days, they've traveled internationally, they've had different quality of food. There's just a little bit higher expectations on what they're going to be getting. So definitely what you're talking about, Cathy, we're seeing happen across the country. So you're exactly on point with that.
I guess it really shows how important it is for everybody to communicate about what's required and what people need and what people want, and then work together to deliver it. Well, I think this is a very nice point to end on. Thank you so much for your time today, Tara, Cathy, and Charlie. It's been a really interesting conversation. I appreciate your time, and thanks to IBEX for supporting the session.